मंजू, what the fuck, man? कितने फोन कर रहा हूँ कल रात से?
How did you find me?
Nida told me you'd be here, but that's not the point. You fucking ghosted me.
एक ही बार तो मिले हैं. What's a big deal about it?
Big deal? I mean, you're being an asshole. It's no big deal. Am I the only one who felt it is something special? ऐसा रोज नहीं होता मंजू.
Head chef at one of the best restaurants of New York. That's a lot of money.
This is a lot of love. आइए पास आइए. है ना जादू?
हाँ.
प्यार.
जो हो गया सो हो गया.
मंजू. What?
देखो हमारे बीच कुछ नहीं हो सकता. जो हो गया ना उसे भूल जाओ. I'm sorry. I don't. मुझे अभी बात नहीं करनी.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Manju, I promise I won't hurt you. It's okay.
So we do talk a lot about in contemporary culture about how love is painful, and I think there is even some kind of idealization of that pain that comes with love, or idealization of suffering sometimes in some cases. But I definitely feel like we do not talk enough about how it's painful to be loved, and what it means to be loved, and what it means to receive love, and how that can also be painful. And I don't mean that when it comes to like toxic ways of expression of love, but I mean that even if you're offered very healthy love, the love that you want from the person that you want, you're still feeling the pain. And I think this clip, it really shows that and gives a glimpse to that, of wanting to be loved, but yet turning away from that love, resisting that love. And I really want to talk about that resistance, which for myself, I just see it as a threshold, as that side between two double sides of the same coin. It's love that is painful and our past wounding, and love that is healing and that is able to transform and that is able to give us joy and happiness, I guess. But it's that kind of double-sidedness that I really want to talk about, and I found it really interesting this week, specifically bring it to astrology actually. So I found it really interesting this week because of the transit between Chiron, and Chiron considered a wounded healer, which is as well, like, I love that intersection of words. It's a wounded, but it's also a healer. And Venus, which is the planet of love. And so that duality is really interesting because those two planets, they also reflect those, I would say, two different parts of our psyche and the way we think about love, but they are very much interconnected. I would say Venus is very much a quality of being in love. It's being intoxicated by love, by beauty, by art. It's something that is, being taken back by that feeling, whereas with Chiron, it's a little bit different. With Chiron, I would say it reminds me of that quote by Rumi: "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourselves that you have built against it." And I think Chiron really reminds us of those barriers, of those past wounding, and, you know, in that square, in that connection, which is in astrology, it's considered to be like a tense connection with the planet of love, with that kind of seeking desire for love and being in love. And that wounding, I would say it creates a certain anxiety. It brings up the emotional pain to the surface. We are made to reflect on that. What is that resistance that happens? What is that past wounding? And yet this desire to be in love indicate, and I feel like that is that perfect clash that we see in the scene earlier, and that I actually related to another scene from a more light-hearted animated movie, which is not about love at all, but I think it depicts a very similar feeling of wanting to be loved and yet resisting that very love.
Okay, bye-bye.
See you guys. Man, I feel sorry for them. Gotta run home to their owners. Not us. Now, it's back to our primary mission. The downfall of the human race. It is on, humans. It is on!
Yeah!
Mommy, can I have a bunny? And a pig and a crocodile and a lizard?
Uh-oh.
Yay, bunny!
Jab, jab, jab! Body blow! Breakaway move.
Aww.
What's going on? What's she doing?
Bunny, I'm gonna love you forever and ever and ever. Aw, bunny.
I especially love that clip because I also have a bunny. But it's interesting because you see these things also in animals, and you see that in kids, how that kind of impulse to rebel and be naughty, so to speak, or be, even like on a bigger level at society, be deviant and engage in even like criminal activity. Like, I think a lot of it comes from the pain, and the pain that ironically needs to be healed by love, but it's also love is the source of that pain. And again, this is where that, you know, double-sidedness comes, duality comes together. And if you watch the movie, it's really interesting in its context as well, because it touches really on the topic of identity as well, and the identities that we create around our pain. And I think it's more obvious, and it's very easy to say, well, it's a trauma bonding, or this is like, you know, something to do with your pain body, or this person is like, you know, attached to their pain, when it's very obvious and it's very outwardly kind of suffering narrative. But when that narrative turns into something that is seen as, or even becomes the source of belonging, because in this case it does give that bunny belonging, right? Like it's in a certain group of animals in this case, but like people, and, you know, a certain source of prestige, a certain source of power. It's almost like a survival, and it is very much a survival mechanism. And I think this is also where that resistance actually becomes even stronger, because you're not just resisting being loved and resisting the pain or the memory of that pain of what love can bring, but you also resisting giving up that identity. And I think that becomes really, really tricky, because it's hard for you to see the identity that you have constructed around it. Oftentimes we can invest our whole life, and it's who we are. It becomes that identity, and it's all that we know. And again, super interesting when we talk about psychology in that sense, because there is a big narrative about like losing yourself in a relationship, but there is also needs to be said, what does that self means and what do you actually lose? And I'm not talking about codependency and like relationships where you just completely surrender and give up all your needs and desires and wants, but I'm really just talking about what is that narrative of maintaining a certain self and really like the need to reflect of what self we actually trying to protect and what that self is based on. And I'm gonna end it with another clip, and I actually made a whole video review on another animated movie called Free Birds, but I feel like it really ties everything together with this piece of identity. So if you're interested in that topic, you can also check out that video with review. Thank you for watching.
Del amor.
What is this?
One-eyed orphan Alejandro is thrown out of the orphanage for being different.
They threw him out too. I know exactly how that feels.
Rejected by all, Alejandro lives alone in the streets of Tijuana until one day he becomes a man.
Oh, man.
Alejandro starts his new company, El Solo Lobo, and makes $1 million pesos. He buys a jet, he buys a tiger, and becomes Tijuana's greatest lover. No, yo soy El Solo Lobo.
El Solo Lobo. I always thought being part of a flock was what I wanted. But maybe I was wrong.
Yeah.